It's a great day for reading and waxing poetic. Hello and welcome to Checked Out. We're broadcasting from Euclid Public Library in beautiful Euclid, Ohio. I'm Jean Robinson, Multimedia and Communications Specialist.
And I'm Mike Stein, Assistant Manager of Adult Services. We talk about our favorite books, movies, services, and events with our favorite people in our favorite community. Each podcast will feature a theme. Today, we're talking about ways to express yourself with poetry. Here to tell us about it are members from Cleveland's Sparrow's Fortune Poetry Collective, Khalil Just Cause Cage, along with Morgan Page Shorts, Quinn Q and the Stew McGuire, and Avery Lamar Pope. This group of young poets use spoken word, poetry, and creative writing workshops to inspire others to tap into their creative side. And they will be performing at EPL's National Poetry Month program on April 29th at 6 p.m. at the Shore Cultural Center. Welcome to Checked Out, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I'm glad you guys could all join. And Khalil, we'll start with you. How long has it been around and what all do you guys do?
The purpose of the Sparrow's Fortune was really collaboration in an artistic space. So really getting everybody together, I would say rounding everybody up to experience poetry in a collaborative manner, to be more playful with poetry while also building a space where poets can see growth in a network with people of like minds. So not only did I see these people as some of the best writers and some of the best performers, but also people who inspired me, people I wanted to learn from. And also I saw us being able to teach other people about our craft and about how we've grown and developed as well. So it started with community and now it's sustaining community.
Great. Khalil, could you introduce us to the others who are joining us today and what their specialties are?
I guess we can start with Morgan and then go down the line from there.
Hey everyone, I'm Morgan Page. I am the managing director of the Sparrow's Fortune, and I'm also a spoken word artist here in Cleveland.
I'm Avery Lamar Pope. I am a performance poet. I touch on curriculum building at times, and I am also an actor, singer-songwriter, director, playwright in Cleveland and neighboring areas and the like. And so happy to be here, blessed to be here. What's up, Q?
What's going on, Avery? That was a good segue. Appreciate
Shout
that.
out. Absolutely.
Hey everyone, my name is Quinn McGuire. I am also a performance poet with the Sparrow's Fortune. And really poetry is kind of more of a passion project of mine. By day, I am an architectural designer. So that's my professional kind of field. I mean, it's all professional, but architecture is my day job. So that's what takes up a lot of my time.
Now, did you all know each other before the collective, meet through the collective, and how many people are part of it?
There's about 7 of us a part of it. Some of us knew each other prior to the collective. Some of us met during and at the collective, but a lot of us knew each other from just open mics around the city of Cleveland.
Why did you decide to join this collective? And this can go to anyone.
For me specifically, I joined the collective because at that point in time, I had been a solo artist and I really wanted to write with other artists and just be and create together. I think that is something so special and just beautiful about creating with another artist that you respect and that you respect their artistry. And also just to be introduced to new audiences, because some people follow, Khalil, or some people follow Avery or Quinn or Mixed Rose or Quiet Kid or Raven. And just to be introduced to other, audiences, I feel like I've gotten better as a poet and a spoken word artist since I've met them, especially having some actors on our team. They've helped a lot with our performance and things like that.
I'm a huge believer in support and collaboration and community, especially coming from theater and that kind of area. Community is really important. Ensemble is really important. And to have a collective of artists who are passionate about telling stories is something that's really important to me. Spoken word and open mics and that kind of practice is typically a pretty solo project. You get up, you do your piece, and you kind of only perform your pieces to the 4 walls of your living room. But when you are able to get somebody else in the space who is able to fine tune your work, fine tune your craft, and bounce your ideas off of one another, is very akin to comedy clubs, right? Comedians get together and they bounce their jokes and off of people, and they try their material at different clubs and the like to make sure that their material is landing. And so we do the same thing. We just do it in one of our apartments or houses, and then we take it out and curate the kind of work that we think is really important. And to be able to have that as an intimate and internal community is pretty dope to me. So that's why I joined.
I personally have a little bit of a different story from the other three here because they are part of the original five of the Sparrow's Fortune, and I was blessed enough to be able to join later on. So my experience really is first and foremost as a fan of the Sparrow's Fortune. These are artists that I looked up to from not afar because I was up close and personal with a lot of them, but definitely artists that I admired. And Morgan touched on the idea of iron sharpening iron. And I looked at them as kind of like, the elite writers in Cleveland and some of the best around to do it. So whenever the opportunity arose for me to become a part of it, I just saw it as really a chance for me to hone in on my craft as a writer and particularly as a performer. It was a little bit more of a an opportunity for me to better myself because of the people that I had the opportunity to surround myself with.
Who would like to share some poetry with us?
Not me.
Oh, come on, Mike.
Mike, I know you got some bars. I know you got some to share with the people.
Maybe I'll have to come and learn some at your program.
Yeah, come hang out. Come hang out. I do have a poem, and I'm pretty sure Morgan or Avery or Quinn has a poem after I get done reading mine. But
I think Quinn has the poem.
Yeah, I'm confident in Quinn's abilities to poet.
Me too.
You guys are too kind.
But yeah, I have this poem. It's called Piano Man, and I'll begin it. His face scrunches, his fingers dance across the keys. You can see how deeply he feels the tone of his toe. Heads rock as the music knocks, and we all reason with the rhythm. The drummer boy follows note, a boom for every beat, a tss for everybody still in their seat, his hands humming from heat, all following the piano man's key. The saxophone man makes love with wind, body winding with every note he presses. The crowd can feel the pressure, he can't help but release it. He rocks back and forth, diffusing frustration. Legs kick up to kick off the long night. The guitar man dares to keep up. Strings pulled short make for long sounds. Left hand panicking along the neck. Thank God for electric, right? The sax still has its own mic. In fact, it takes flight. Singing over the melody the other musicians create its magic. What a muse the assembly becomes. The beat hums, the guitar strums, but now it's the drummer boy's solo. Yanking the crowd's attention, boom bapping with intention, and filling the room with his blood, he whispers. They listen when we speak. We beat boxes all through the halls. We be bass, we be booming, breaking soundboards. We bounce from one ear to another, from one house to another, using window panes as portals, using doors as dimensions, surfing through the airwaves, making motion out of thin air, mingling silence by the neck. We be loud, unapologetically. We only bow our heads to pray to percussion, then nod them to the rhythm, the tss and the bap, the sh and the snap, the occasional hold on. This song slap. We be the masters of the master of ceremonies. She listens to our cadence, creates mathematical symbols with her voice. Her vocals be my vice, and together we be victorious. The Vatican would call us villains. They say our notoriety lacks noblemen, but still we be notorious in our own worlds. We built the Tower of Babel, fell to the ground and learned to make our beds out of the brass left over, learned how to communicate through the coils. Our bosoms ring out, made rings out of metal, created the sounds that send souls to heaven. How could you hate us? We be celestial.
Very nice. That was Piano
Good
Man
job.
from Luke Cage. That really turned into something different from the beginning to the end. Got really kind of deep at the end.
It did. Yeah. Me personally, that's my style. You gotta inch in and then let's really get into the conversation. So
Yeah.
yes.
The poem had a whole journey to it.
Thank you.
And what happens at one of your meetings, one of the Sparrow's Fortune gatherings? Is it all performance? Do you guys get together and throw ideas off each other? Where do you do it? What all happens?
We play too much. I'll shut up after that, but we play entirely too much.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, typically we get together at one of our houses, as Abe said, one of our houses, or we've been to a couple of different just venues, and we do kick ideas around. We share work that we've been working through, or share poems we've been working through, share event ideas, et cetera, and just work through it. As of late, we haven't really been building for a specific show. So a lot of our time together has been one-on-one. Like, for instance, Q and I were together not too long ago, having a writing session, preparing for a performance we have on March 30th. And so, yeah, it's typically us sharing ideas, sharing work that we already have, and joking around, being goofy. That's typically what creates a sense of lightheartedness amongst us, is being goofy, playing around with each other.
Now, this group started out as a competitive slam poetry and spoken word team. Tell us how it evolved since then.
Originally, we started just as a performance collective where we've been able to really just do shows and like produce shows, build them up and things like that. So that's kind of how we've functioned for like the first year. Then we started doing community creative writing workshops. So since then, we've kind of like took the scope of a nonprofit and started doing our community creative writing workshops, which are founded in like social emotional learning, and really been like building community with other writers, new writers, people that want to explore the art of writing again, storytelling, again, spoken word, and really just cultivating that community. It feels like family with our community. So through the writing workshops and talking about real life situations and subjects and things that we've experienced, it's taken off from when we originally started back in 2023 of the workshops. And we've also partnered with just like-minded organizations that need assistance with teaching programs towards their clients and things like that. I'm pretty sure Khalil can give more of a clear answer than what I just did, though.
Everything Morgan said was right on the nail. She hit the nail on its head. To give it more verbiage, I would say that over these last few years, we've had the privilege and opportunity to expand throughout Ohio, utilizing our workshops with after-school programs, schools, organizations who operate in social services. And it's been a blessing because for me, at least, what I've been able to see is the stories that come from individuals. Being able to see that this one moment in writing has altered somebody's idea of self or idea of society. And I think that's what's beautiful. One of my favorite stories is a friend of mine who just so happened to attend a writing workshop. We were having conversations about names, and she was expressing how one of her parents would call her empty or like useless in some way, shape, or form. But the homework was to research our name. We had to research the origin of our name. And what came about was her name actually meant vessel. It meant full vessel. And to go almost a little over 30 years feeling as though you are less than because of different life experiences, but to see that your name means full vessel, and then to write about something like that, I think that's the beauty that comes from our writing workshops. And moments like that, more than anything, is how we've expanded the power of the people who come to participate in our workshops, and also the power of the people who take what they write at our workshops elsewhere, take it abroad, going to different open mics, sharing like, oh, I wrote this at the Sparrow's Fortune writing workshop. And not just that, but also the people who are enrolled in social services, the students that we go to visit at class, where we get to perform poetry and they get to see that poetry isn't just these Langston Hughes and Maya Angelou's on the page. These are people who can perform these words out loud and they can mean something almost like music. And so that's what I really, really love to see.
And Khalil, I understand that you were not even 10 years old when you started writing poetry. Why was poetry your form of expression? Why'd you pick that up way back then?
Wow.
Not way back then, just back then.
It feels like way back then a little bit, but yeah, I was around 8. I was around 7 or 8 when I started to write. I think what did it for me, honestly, at first, it was I liked the way the rappers I heard played with words. Like to hear Lil Wayne and hear Jay-Z and Young Jeezy and T.I. and the way that they used words and like bent them and reshaped them and like threw them in the air and like it was like dancing but with words, and I thought that was so cool. And honestly, I wanted to do the same thing. And so yeah, I started writing way back then, and I think as I got older, writing became that outlet for me. So of course, the more life that I experienced and things that I couldn't necessarily share with my parents, things that I couldn't share with my friends, I would run to my notebook. I would write down my thoughts, my ideas, the things that hurt me, even the things that I was happy about that I didn't necessarily want to share with others. I found solace in my notebook. And I think that's the beauty of a lot of writers that we've come to know over the years. It's that uniting force for all of us is at one point or another, we went to our notebook when we couldn't go anywhere else.
And Avery and Quinn and Morgan, did you start early, or are you more recently to poetry?
I started pretty early. I went to Garrity Elementary School and I started writing poetry somewhere in the 3rd and 4th grade. I started writing music in the 2nd grade and like songs and stuff in like the 2nd and 3rd grade. And I started writing poetry in the 4th-ish. And definitely like in the 5th, because actually somebody else who's integral in the poetry community, Cynthia Larson. I believe she had come to our school with Lake Erie Inc. I went to Garrity Elementary School. I know she's often with Lake Erie Inc. I don't know her work with it as a whole, but I know that she was integral in bringing poetry to my world. And so I was able to begin writing things around that age. So I was pretty young, about somewhere. I began writing somewhere between the 7 to 9, 7 to 10 range, just the same. And from there, I was able to begin writing plays and scripts and more music and the like, because I fell in love with the idea of being able to, like Khalil said, express myself through words. But then also, I love the idea of building a world with words and being able to give that world to somebody else and allow them to be immersed in it. And that was really important for me. So I started pretty young.
Let's hear another poem.
I can jump in, Q, if you want me to.
Oh, I found one, but you're.
Oh, sure. No, if you found one, hey man.
It's a quick one, so I'm sure
Okay.
I'm sure we'll have time. This is a very short poem,
Okay.
and we talked about storytelling. So I mentioned that I am an architectural designer by day. So this is actually something I wrote shortly after what we call a site visit, just going and visiting a project. And seeing what that project might turn out to be. So this is something I wrote just as kind of I journeyed through my own thought process of what this project could become. So this is just called The Barn. I woke up late this morning and didn't even bother to eat breakfast. I just tied my boots as fast as I could so that I had the right amount of leverage to smash the gas pedal into the floor on the way to work. There was barely enough time between my car and the next room to breathe the bloom of autumn. Upon my arrival, we headed to the job site, all filled with urban air. In a place less busy than the city streets I was used to listening to sat a barn, a big old bucket of wood and fire truck tinted paint. The trees ran around this mother of a house, littering the ground with loose leaf gold and orange and good morning. It took me to a time when we woke up, scrambled for the kitchen where breakfast was always farm fresh and the head of the table was always sunny side up. The ceiling hung onto a bunch of empty to remind us of an autumn sky, a sort of heavy, not so perfect but never quite ready to fall. Like the trees hold up clouds, so too did the timber bones of this old place. Somehow there was still a trace of their youth in the air, and suddenly everything in the room moved around us. Yet we stayed still and young and happy, kids again. I pictured us running laps around mother, home, our feet coated in hues of innocence. We littered the floor in gold and orange and good morning. Time opened out into forever of a yard and lost itself both in distance and direction. It was puzzled, but somehow everything outside of itself made sense, and so made for a picture-perfect start to the day. Like a picture, it remained perfect in its stillness as everything else moved around it, and as quickly as October blew a whiff of newness across my face, I was in my apartment, telling my roommate of this great big barn in the middle of everywhere that made itself a home.
That was from Quinn McGuire.
I like how descriptive it is.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about poetry, is kind of creating a world out of words. So I'm glad that it was descriptive.
This question is for everyone. Is there power in poetry?
There is power in poetry, a lot of power. I started journaling first, just being expressive with my, emotions. That's something that my mom gave me young, was to just share my emotions in the journal and not, outburst and telling everybody in the whole family that you hate them. So I started using the journals, and then it really helped me to express myself in a way that wasn't so harmful for other people, that I would just be able to say, oh, okay, here, and I'm able to release. And I think that it gives you so much more freedom. And I think a lot of the time we associate power with like status or, just getting higher and higher and higher. But I think that for me, it empowered me to have more freedom with the way that I feel and what I think. And journaling specifically allowed me the opportunity to release all that was burdening me at the time. So poetry has empowered me.
I think that poetry is extremely powerful, not only because it's like a form of expression and a way for a lot of us to kind of release a lot of maybe the anxieties and personal turmoils that we might be going through. But it's also an extremely powerful communicative tool. Khalil compared it to music, and I think that, music is sort of a universal language. And poetry kind of gives us a similar way to communicate with folks through our work. In my experience as a poet, people have communicated to me that, they're able to understand a message in a different way through my work, or, really any work that is going on in the Cleveland poetry scene. You can really tap into different emotions that you might not necessarily be comfortable confronting head on by yourself, through other people's work and through listening to other people's poetry. So I think that not only is it a powerful tool for, on an individual level, but I think as a community tool, it's very powerful too.
So y'all be coming to Euclid Library. Well, not at the actual library on April 29th. We're doing our programs while we're having our remodeling. We're doing them at Shore Cultural Center right up the street from the library in Euclid. April 29th at 6 p.m. What can we expect to see and hear from you all at that time?
What you all will experience when the Sparrow Fortune comes to hang out at Euclid Library is a lot of our multifaceted and diverse ways of speaking. Q earlier talked about how poetry is a universal language, and the beauty of the Sparrow's Fortune is the fact that we all have unique backgrounds and we'll be able to communicate the power of diverse backgrounds collaboratively coming together to share our unique experiences, but how those experiences also make us very similar.
And I understand there will be a mini workshop as part of the program with the library.
Yes, so we'll facilitate a short workshop to get everybody in the crowd involved to be able to write their own poems if they like to share it as well. We're also very excited about that to see what we can pull out from the crowd. So yeah, and April is National Poetry Month. So to be able to invite other people from the community of Euclid to write their own poems, even if it's a sentence, that's a poem. Even if it's 3 pages, that's a poem. So being able to see what we can pull out is going to be exciting.
Now, is there a website people can read more about what you do on, or an email address to contact you?
Yes, so you can find us at thesparrowsfortune.com, www.thesparrowsfortune.com. And then you can also reach out to us via email, thesparrowsfortune@gmail.com.
And there are workshops that people can sign up for through your website?
Absolutely. So once you log on to or click on to thesparrowsfortune.com, you'll typically see what upcoming events we'll have. We'll have events all through the rest of this year, writing workshops. We're also gearing up for a few special events that we're not going to say too much on right now, but we're very excited to continue engaging with community.
I think, Avery, you have one to share with us?
I can throw one into the pot. Why not? Dang, I'm really a poet, huh?
Yeah,
I can throw one into the pot. Why not? Hey now.
Jump on in.
Hey now. I think this piece is called Time for Breakfast. This morning, I ate 3 miniature pieces of aluminum foil stuck to my cinnamon French toast sticks. It would have been 4, but when I scattered my sticks across the plate, one flipped, and that miniature piece of foil was not a miniature piece of foil. So I removed the shiny giant fourth and figured I'd find out if the 3 would hurt me sooner or later, and settled on the hope that it caused as much damage as the scraped off and faded wrappers on a warm Now and Later. Not much later, I washed it down with toothpaste-infused water. Well, almost. I caught the toothpaste-infused water and hawked it out, then stopped and thought, I really need to learn how to slow down. I have an interesting relationship with time. She and we have an understanding. She runs away from me, and I try to fill the distance between us with activity and responsibilities to make it feel like she's closer than she is. We've both seen both idle waters and shifting sands, can't quite get our hands to intertwine. We fight. We both claim that the other is not showing up in this love affair. Both claim that the other is the reason why distance could never make the heart grow fonder, and unmet yearn does not a love story make. It is barely poetic for desire and disappointment to share common ground, for space and opportunity to be both fingertips and light years away. How much time would it take for that space to close? When I was a child, my father would tell me to slow down. He would joke, rib that I was walking into walls, plagued with bleary eyes and weary sighs. I am no longer a child, but my dad is a distorted, broken record in our conversation. He chops his croon, screws a familiar tune. Slow down, you're walking into walls. My friends never expect me to RSVP. They sooner assume that I'll be there if I can, and believe me wholeheartedly when I say I can't. I know I'll have experienced romance when the seat I sit down to eat in has a face in front of it that does not look like my own to the left and right, when the circle in front of me holds something good as opposed to needing to be held on to avoid something bad. I crash every night, and I wish I didn't. I wish I just lay down, just went to bed. I wish my eyes blinked open. I wish I stretched while still under my covers. I wish I started my car from the dining room while eating in my dining room. But unfortunately, there are crumbs of Pringles in the pocket of the Prindle, banana strings strewn about the dashboard, a birthday gift still sitting in the back seat, and small pieces of aluminum foil floating somewhere in my body. If I've learned anything from this experience, I've learned that I need to stop buying aluminum foil from the dollar store. That if I'm going to buy French toast sticks from Target, I can save more time buying both from the same place anyway.
Very good. That was Avery Lamar Pope. And like Khalil, yours kind of started off as just describing a scene and gets deeper and deeper as you go on. Is that kind of the essence of poetry?
I think that it depends on the kind of storyteller you are. I'm a big proponent for, hey, listen, you don't actually know what you're getting into when you hear the beginning of this poem. I love doing that. I love setups for spikes. I love planting those seeds early and then not knowing what tree you're going to get at the end of it. That's just one of the things I love to do. And it's a choice because some people are very straight on from the beginning and some people use a twist. It just depends on the kind of storyteller you prefer to be.
I also think along those lines, like Avery mentioned, like you don't know what you're getting yourself into until the end. And then there's some people who write in a way that you just never know where it ends.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's some really cool stuff is like where it can be interpreted in millions of different ways. So
I think the poet, her name is Robin Sher. I went to a retreat not too long ago, put on by Lick Cleveland, and she was one of the teaching artists, and she said that every poem answers a question, and you really don't know what question you're answering until the end of the poem. And I think that's the beauty of poetry sometimes, where we ourselves, as we're writing, are following this journey. And then once we get to the end, it's like, oh, I found the answer. And I think that's the beauty of the journey that you go on when you begin writing. But not every poem has such an elongated journey. Maybe you start and it's just as lighthearted as you started with. Maybe you start and by the time you finish, it's just as deep as you started with. There's a beautiful, simple complexity to poetry that I really enjoy.
Now, as we get ready to wrap up here, does any of you have any advice for fellow poets out there, especially people who aren't part of a collective like this? What should people do to improve their skills or learn new skills?
It's really easy to fall in love with, I would say, the expression and the crowd response element of performance poetry, but it takes critique and work and patience and I'll say disappointment and arguing over the point of a poem and whether or not it's done or not. It requires more than just writing your feelings down and saying them out loud. And so I would say push your pen and fall in love with the craft of saying something a different way.
yeah, I think kind of along those lines, if particularly for artists who are not part of a collective, is to be part of a community in a way, particularly with writing, because that kind of peer editing and peer feedback is so important. In open mics settings, like Avery said, it's easy to fall in love with that kind of crowd response, but to be in a room with a much more intimate crowd and get true, honest opinions and feedback on your work is extremely important. I would say that if you're not part of a poetry community, either, find one that works for you or go, take that extra step to create one.
If I can add anything to the great words that these two have shared, I will also kind of piggyback on the last statement I said, which is to ask questions and don't look for easy answers. Like you can always ask yourself a question and the apparent answer will be there. So, oh, what color is the sky today? The sky is blue. To Avery's point, what's another way I can say blue? I can say, oh, the sky is an indigo flower blooming, right? Finding different ways to find answers to what you are asking. And specifically for those who are writers, even if you aren't a performer, be open to sharing, be open to allowing other people to read your work because there's a comfortability that grows you even as you begin to be seen. Being seen is a process of maturity. It matures your work. It matures the way you approach life. For the younger writers, continue. Q and I were hanging out not too long ago, and we found poems that I had written when I was 13 years old, and that was 13, almost 14 years ago at this point. And I think that just speaks to the power of continuing to move, continuing to drive into curiosity.
study. Study. Don't just write and go. Study. Study the craft, study the greats, study the favorites, watch those who aren't your favorite. As a singer, I can't just listen to my favorite artists because my favorite artists have a tone that I may not be able to mimic and make my own. So I may need to listen to, if I think about a genre, I love to listen to jazz and gospel and Christian music. But I also need to listen to country music. I also need to listen to soul. Well, I also love to listen to soul, but I need to listen to soul, and I need to listen to different variants of that genre so that I can find a way to make my sound as much of a cornucopia as possible, to have as many tools at my disposal to use to tell the story that I want to tell. So you have to study and not be so boxed in the thing you like to do if you want to. And I'll say this, and you all may strike this, but I'm going to say it anyway because this is just my nature. If you want to call yourself a storyteller, if you want to call yourself a poet, if you want to take up the mantle of being those who observe life and report back to life what they have seen, then your responsibility is to do that craft justice and study those who have a history of doing this craft justice. That is your responsibility.
Great advice.
Yeah, well said. So I'd like to thank you guys all for joining us. Once again, that's Khalil Cage, Morgan Page Shorts, Quinn McGuire, and Avery Lamar Pope from the Sparrow's Fortune Poetry Collective. And you can read more about what they do at thesparrowsfortune.com. And they'll be coming to Euclid Public Library's Shore Cultural Center rooms on April 29th at 6 p.m. to do their thing. So thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you all for having us.
Thanks so much.
You. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to the program in April.
It'll be a great time.
Now it's time for the library news you cannot use.
Gene, when you head to London later this fall to watch the Browns play, try and stop by the Warburg Institute in London's University Quarter, newly opened to visitors after an $18 million renovation. You'll find something the Browns might need to conjure up in a win. One of the most important and unusual collections of occult material in the world, according to the Guardian website. The collection ranges from original paintings used for tarot cards to books on comets and divination. It was founded in Germany in the early 20th century and became part of the University of London in the 1950s. Visitors were once greeted by a glass screen on a security desk, but now encounter a museum-like, well-lit auditorium when entering. Perhaps enterprising Cleveland tourists can find something to help put a winning spell on the Browns.
After visiting London, head to Canada. All you Trekkies like me should consider adding the University of Toronto's Thomas Fisher Rare Book Library to your travels. Turns out it was the final frontier in the search for a setting for the Star Trek Discovery television series version of a library. According to utoronto.ca, the season 5 episode of the series featured a visit to a library containing all of the knowledge in the universe. In the episode, the Discovery crew is sent on a scavenger hunt where the final clue rests in the eternal archive, which safeguards the secrets of the universe. If you want to watch this or other episodes of the series, come on down to our temporary library, EPL at 185th, where you'll find the DVDs for Star Trek Discovery, as well as plenty of other Star Trek shows and movies, including my favorite, Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Thanks for listening to Checked Out. You can learn more about Euclid Public Library by going to our website, euclidlibrary.org.